Hello people, this is Sandy from We Are Talk of Thailand with another video. Today's video is about condominiums again and the problems that often occur in these condominiums. Today's video is going to highlight 3 different stories about serious problems that have occurred recently in Pattaya. But let me just state now that the problem isn't limited to Pattaya because there's many condominiums throughout Thailand, and it's applicable to them all. So no matter where you're staying, it's worth you knowing about these 3 stories I'm about to tell. Just before I start these stories, actually, I would like you to consider subscribing to my channel and give me a like if you enjoy the video, etc. And that would be much appreciated, and it would help me a great deal. But for now, let's move on, and I'll start with the 3 stories, which are all serious, and one of them was potentially life-threatening as well, or maybe still be life-threatening, actually. So these are the 3 stories coming up. So the first of these stories, it's a story, and it's a problem that I don't see any easy answer to. I'm very fortunate that I don't live in a condo, and I live in a house, and even better, I live in a detached house with space all around me. So I have no problems as such. We live quite happily here without the problems that might exist if we lived in a condo, a condominium. And what is this problem? Problem is people. People that live in condominiums, you don't really get much opportunity to be able to select your neighbours or who lives above you, etc. And this is where the problems can begin. I have seen many times and listened to many people that live in the condominiums that they've moved in and they've started having a small problem with a neighbor. Maybe they're not keeping the place as tidy as it. Maybe they're making a mess. Maybe they're making a noise. Maybe they're doing something else. Even down to the car park arrangements, etc., when they don't respect each other's parking and things like this. All these can manifest into little problems that start small, but once they've started, they grow, and they grow rapidly. And people get very upset, and it plays on their minds. And in occasions, it actually turns into violence, and then it is bad, and it's not good for anyone living in that condo. So what I'd like you to do is listen to this lady's story, and you can see how stressed out this girl has been, and I felt very, very sorry for her when she told the story. So please have a listen to this.
My upstairs neighbor. Every morning, music would begin blaring, and this music would not stop until at least midnight, and if I was lucky, sometime before 2 a.m. This music would blast all day at random intervals. I first noticed it beginning on a Tuesday at 11 a.m. It is 11 a.m. and the music has already started again. As a patient person, I tried to ignore it for a while and figured they would stop. They did not stop. The music continued to annoy me and to vibrate my walls. Every day, like clockwork, the music would begin blaring in the morning and intermittently start and stop throughout the day. The same song cycle, every day. I used a broom to bang on the ceiling, and I even knocked on their door to ask them politely to stop. I threw junk at my ceiling out of frustration, but nothing. Finally, I called management to explain the situation. The general manager assured me that she would speak to the person above me about turning it off when it gets too late. I felt relief. I thought the music would stop. I was wrong. The music only got louder, but the resident above me began acting out in petty ways. They started stomping around the room, drumming on the floor, and my favorite, they acquired a chair on wheels. You might be thinking, what kind of adult acts like this? And to that, I have no answer. As I sit here, plotting my next moves, I have to wonder what on earth could they be doing up there? Why is it the same songs? Why is it constant throughout the day? Do they not have class or other responsibilities? I believe in fighting fire with fire, but in this case, I have no idea what I can do. I've schemed up ways I could annoy them back, such as buying a racquetball or ceiling vibrator, but as a mature adult, I don't want to be a menace. I just want some quiet.
So, very sad story. And I think this is not so uncommon. In fact, it's pretty common, I believe, stories like this. And it can be very, very serious. Once you have a problem like this and it's playing on your mind, it can lead to severe depressions, and anyone can only take so much before there's a breaking point and they're going to do something, react in some way to the problem. The other point that the young lady mentions actually is what sort of people do this. And that leads me to something else that I've been party of discussions to, and it may be the answer, it may not be, because I don't know the people that lived above this lady. But I hear quite often that people that live in these condos, when things start going wrong for them, and what do I mean by going wrong? Well, maybe a relationship breakdown, that's quite a common. Or they've got financial problems, that's another common one. Or maybe it's alcohol or drugs, another common problem. And when you get a combination maybe of all of these aspects, then what do people do is that they go into deep depressions because they don't know how to handle it. If they're on their own and they're in a small box, a 25-meter square condo, which is a small box that you're living in, 5 meters by 5 meters, to include your toilet and the rest of it. It's no easy way to live, I can assure you. I've spent extended periods in hotels where I've been working on various projects, etc. And it can be depressing, even living in a hotel in the same room all the time, and you're in the same position every night, etc. But these people, if they can't go out at all, or they don't want to go out at all, then they start doing these stupid things like putting the same music on at the same time every day and feeding the depression, going out and buying cheap alcohol. Here in Thailand, the two popular ones are things like Sangsong, the rum, or even worse, the Lao Khao, which is very cheap. You can buy a bottle of Lao Khao, which is like rice wine, very strong. Some of it's very strong. I think you get it in 2 strands, 40 and 60, and it's very, very cheap. But it's got some very, very bad effects. It's very cheap. It destroys your brain. It destroys your eyesight. It's similar to cocaine, actually. Now, with cocaine here in Thailand also, these problems are going to become more common. And then we've got to remember what I talked about before, if you remember, the Pattaya Flying Club. Okay, let's move on to the next story now. And this is another serious story. My second story involves a business executive whose name is Rachel. And Rachel worked for an advertising company in Bangkok. She purchased a condo in Jomtien where she could spend her time off at weekends, etc. She did have some underlying health conditions, one of which was asthma that did present itself occasionally, making her breathing difficult. And this condo that she got in Jomtien, she took out a year lease on her condo and had to pay quite a hefty deposit of 2 months, as well as a month's rent before she moved in. Almost right away, she noticed that her breathing was becoming more problematic after spending a couple of nights in her condo, but she failed to connect the reason why that might be. Now, let's just talk about the weather here in Thailand, and particularly in this area, Bangkok and Pattaya, etc., where we get quite a lot of rain, and we always got a warm climate. And now these two things don't work together too well, because it rains and then the heat comes, and then we get high humidity levels, which causes all sorts of problems. The number of times I've got up early in the morning to go and have a game of golf, I've been driving out to the golf course and not been able to see out the windscreen because of the condensation forming and it being a real problem, until the sun came up a bit more and it started to dry things out. But condensation is certainly a real problem. And as it transpires, this is a problem in many of the condominiums, etc. as well. I have always noticed, when I used to come to Hong Kong even and stayed in hotels and that in Hong Kong, there was always a kind of musty smell. And I've noticed it here in Thailand too, although maybe I've become more adapted to it. So poor old Rachel, she got caught up in this problem in her condominium that actually led to her being quite seriously ill, and they did identify the problem, why it was happening, and she had to go into hospital and get treated there, which cost her a lot of money. And not only that, because of the problem with the condominium and the dampness in there, which caused damp and other problems, she had to break her contract and lose her deposit, which I said before was quite a lot of money. So I'd like you to listen to this guy speaking about this problem. It's quite important.
I'd like to talk about mold and the most common mold problems we find in condominiums and apartments buildings. So a lot of clients have been calling me, especially whenever they have an issue with substances that appear to be green or white on their clothing or on the walls. And a lot of this has to do with air conditioning and not having the air conditioning running at an adequate level or in good condition, or just sometimes turning off the air condition because it appears that the climate is cool enough to cool the area and not to have issues when they don't turn it back on. This is a fallacy, it's a farce, it's not something that is recommended. It's recommended that you keep your air condition level at the same level, whether it be you like it to be between 75 and 78. And you would not need to go higher than that where you have a lot of humidity. And these are the reasons why a lot of customers will find that their clothing starts showing these signs of mildew or mold on their clothing, especially on their bags, their leather bags, their leather shoes. These are things that are very common, and especially with apartment living and in condo living. So it's very important that you keep your air conditioner on at all times, preferably on automatic, and service your air conditioner frequently, at least twice a year if possible, so that you can have adequate cooling that will not affect the fact that a condominium is always enclosed and not able to have air circulating from outside coming in, as would in some cases of a home or a house that would have multiple people coming in and out, and that would regulate a lot of the temperature when the air is not on. But once the air is on, it will automatically solve that problem for most clients. So as a home inspector and also as a mold inspector, I find that these are the main reasons why in condominiums I'm getting a lot of calls, especially during the change of the climate season.
Well, there we go. Every day's a school day, and I've always known that we have a problem here in Thailand with humidity, and it doesn't take a genius to work it out either. We get a lot of heavy rain. We're just coming into the real rainy season, but We're also very hot. We're still getting temperatures around 40 degrees at the moment, with an even higher field temperature. Sometimes the so-called feels like it's been up nearly 50 degrees, and it's been horrible. Actually, it's been absolutely horrible. But we are starting to see a little bit of the rain coming in again, which of course is now creating a bigger humidity problem. The rain and the heat, it's going to be there. Once again, I'm fortunate. I live in a house, and we have our dogs coming in and out, and we have our doors open all day, and all around the house. So windows open as well. So we get a lot of air through the house. And we don't use normally we don't use the air conditioning too much, just at night when we're sleeping to get to sleep. But recently, in the last few weeks, where we've had excessive temperatures, yes, we have been using it just to cool down, shutting off one of the bedrooms and having a couple of hours siesta in the afternoon with the air conditioning on, just to chill out. I didn't realize that the recommendation was excessive use of the air conditioning in condominiums to try and keep the damp and the humidity down. That's an expensive solution as well. If you're a little bit short, we all know that air conditioning also costs money to run, and it is what it is. So be aware of these things. This is the second thing that you need to be aware of. There is no easy answer. You're going to get humidity. In Rachel's case, it transpired that a lot of the humidity was above her cupboards. A lot of the mold, rather, that was forming was above her cupboards and above her wardrobe, etc., in her bedroom, and also behind some of the panels, behind her wardrobe, down the wall, etc. And that's why when she was sleeping, her bedroom was particularly infected. And when she was there during the day, she would have the veranda, the balcony doors open, letting some air into the sitting room in the condominium. But it was there. The mold was there, and the damp was there, and that's what caused her problem. Yeah, she's recovered now. She's out of hospital. She's back at work, and I don't know. I haven't seen her for a while. I don't know if she's got another condominium or not yet. But I think she's been put off of the idea quite a lot with her experience. Not to be surprised at, I suppose. Okay, so that's the first two stories. Now the third one is a very, very common story, and it relates to mainly people renting accommodation, and it makes me smile when I think about it, and it's not really smiling material. So let's go on to that story. Okay, the third and final story. This is a direct reflection on how foreigners are viewed by many Thais when it comes to us being here in country. You know, I kind of get used to visiting attractions here in Thailand. When we come to paying entry fees, etc., being charged a lot more than the locals. That still bugs me to this day. And this story relates to a chap named Tom and his girlfriend, who rented a very, very beautiful condo and was again charged a security deposit of 2 months' rent, where the normal is 1 month, but some do charge 2 months. And this deposit was close to $6,000 US. It was a lot of money. Shortly after they actually moved in to the condo, one of the taps, one of the faucets in the bathroom stopped working. They reported this several times to the management company and also directly to the owner. They seemed to, when they first met the owner of the property, he seemed a very nice guy when they rented the condo. They thought he was both friendly and very trustworthy. How wrong they were, because when they came to move out, they were blamed for breaking the faucet, and he said that they had forfeited their deposit. Oh my God, $6,000 for a tap. They did contact a lawyer, which was an additional expense, only to be informed that chasing the refund would be very, very expensive. I have heard similar stories. It seems like here in Thailand, when the expats or foreigners are involved, Most Thais are very reluctant to part with the deposits paid when the condo is being vacated. In my experience, it is very difficult to combat this. I did try it once over another matter where I was seeking compensation. Then I was told it would not be in my best interest to continue as a mafia-type organisation were involved, and it might be a large health risk for me to continue. So there you are. That's the three stories that I set out to tell you about the recent problems I've heard about in people living in condos. There are some serious issues, and there is a lot of things that go wrong. But you know, the majority of people seem to do okay. Just be aware of these things, and it is food for thought. If you're going to come to Thailand and you do rent a condo, then do your research. Find out. You know, it's. I don't know if it's at all possible, even if you're thinking about buying or renting a place, if you can maybe stay for a month or rent it for a month before you actually committed to it, just to check that everything is okay, because it's very hard to see otherwise how you can avoid some of these problems that might arise. Anyway, thank you very, very much for watching. As I said before, please consider liking it, and maybe if you haven't already, please subscribe. If you've got any comments, any ideas, or you've got any suggestions, or if you've been affected by any of these matters in a condominium that you live in, please put the comments down below. It will help me to think of future videos, and I will get back to all commenters, I promise. So thank you very much. Wherever you are in this world, take care. Bye for now.